With patch 2.2 right around the corner, we're going to see the arrival of our next limited 5-star, being the Physical Harmony Robin. Now compared to Acheron and Aventurine, we haven't actually seen that much of Robin, with us Trailblazers only having a brief conversation with her at the start before she, well, you know what happens after. Now, while her story arc may still be gearing up, her kit is actually here and it's really interesting. So in this video, I'm going to simplify and explain how she works, as well as what teams she's going to work well with, so you know whether you should be pulling for her when she comes out next week. Now, before we start going through her kit, the numbers I mentioned in this video are subject to change, as I got them from other creators' videos who are given access to the early access server. What the actual abilities do will be pretty final, as Hoyo has officially posted this character preview for Robin that explains her kit without any numbers. Alright, let's start with her kit. Her basic attack we can pretty much ignore, as it's just a stock standard basic attack with nothing special. Her skill is actually also very simple, as it just gives all allies up to 50 damage % for 3 turns. This turn duration decreases at the start of Robin's turn, so this is basically Ranmei's skill, except a little weaker, because Ranmei's, when you include her A6, goes up to 68 damage %. Now Robin's talent is also very basic. It just gives all allies 20% crit damage permanently, and additionally when allies attack, Robin regenerates 2 energy for herself. Now this extra energy is super important, as the main juicy part of her kit is in her incredible ultimate. Robin will enter something called the Concerto state, where she'll no longer take any turns or do any actions, and advances forward all other allies. When in this state, all allies' attack is increased by up to 22.8% of Robin's attack plus a flat 200. When allies attack enemies, Robin will also deal an additional hit that does equal to 120% of her attack. This is really similar to how Ting Yun's Benediction works, except instead of taking the attacking character's attack, it uses Robin's. This additional attack is also going to have a set crit ratio of 100 crit rate to 150 crit damage, so it is going to do reasonable amounts of damage. This Concerto state does end when the countdown in the action bar finally takes its turn. Now finally, her major traces. Her first one is very simple. When she uses skill, she gets a 5 extra energy. Her second one gives allies 25% crit damage on follow-up attacks only when she is in the Concerto state. And then finally, her final one gives her an advance forward at the beginning of every fight of 25%. Before we get into her teams, I want to quickly talk about light cones. Her best one is obviously going to be her signature, which provides her up to 15% energy regen, as well as 48 attack % for Robin, and 24 damage % for allies after using ultimate. This is pretty much perfect, as it's everything Robin needs. In terms of alternative options, the best ones are most likely going to be the ones that help her with energy. For that, we have Bronya's signature, Memories of the Past, and Meshing Cogs. Now Memories of the Past and Cogs are however going to nerf her buffing and damage capabilities quite a bit because of the lower base attack, so it really depends if the extra energy they're providing is allowing for extra ultimates. There is also a free-to-play event Lycone coming in 2.2, which provides very good offensive stats for Robin, but isn't going to be helping her with energy at all. Okay, so now that we understand how Robin works, what teams is she going to be good for? Well, as a generic Harmony, she's still going to be a very good unit in most teams. She has damage % in her skill, which is universal, and obviously her ultimate will be amazing for both the advance forward and Robin's personal damage. Her kit is exceptionally good though for dual DPS teams and follow-up teams. I think in a normal dual DPS team, you can pretty much just compare her to Ranmei, where it's really going to depend on the team comp and the situation to see which one's better. But for a follow-up focused dual DPS team, Robin is going to be the queen. Firstly, we obviously have her major trace that just gives 25% crit damage to follow-ups, but her ulti is the perfect supporting ability for dual DPS follow-up teams. Firstly, this is our first AoE 100% action advanced ability, which is a huge deal for dual DPS teams. Previously, we had to make use of team-wide speed buffs like Ranmei or Asta to cheat out extra turns in a cycle, because Sparkle and Bronya aren't really good when you have 2 characters doing damage in a team. Now with Robin, she can bring the entire team up. Obviously not as much as Sparkle would be able to, but it's still going to be pretty big. Now the way her additional attack works as well means every single attack by your allies is going to trigger Robin's additional hit. In a normal team without follow-ups, you can probably get around 6 or more ally attacks, assuming characters can act twice before the ulti countdown reaches. Now if these characters are throwing follow-ups as well, such as Dr. Ratio, maybe some Topaz and Numby, or even Aventurine, you can trigger Robin's additional attack a lot more than usual, and this damage is not to be underestimated. Robin's hit is most likely going to do around 15,000 damage, more or less depending on investment, and this is going to stack up really fast in a follow-up team. Now those 3 units I just mentioned paired with Robin make an incredible follow-up team that a lot of people have been talking about. Dr. Ratio, Topaz, Robin, and Aventurine is probably going to be the premium follow-up team for a long time, as all these units pretty much play their part perfectly. For Robin herself, this is also going to be the team where you can make the best use of her kit. Now one thing I do think is important to bring up is the lack of debuffs in this team. It'll still be a really strong team, just be aware that you won't only be seeing 100% when you're using Ratio's skill. Now if you are interested in a bit of vertical investment to completely get rid of this issue, Topaz's E1 S1 alone is able to fully provide enough debuffs for Ratio. Now like I said, with the follow-ups and how being able to fit more attacks in her ult makes her a lot more beneficial, there's one other DPS that I haven't seen that many people talk about that can also potentially do this, and that's Sealer. Like I talked about in a previous video, Sealer's main advantage over other DPS units is her very fast playstyle with her extra turns in Resurgence, skill providing speed, and basic advancing forward. Now in certain scenarios, if Sealer can abuse her Resurgence a lot or hit certain breakpoints to act more than twice in Robin's ult duration, she's going to be able to abuse Robin's ult a lot more than other DPS units. This is most likely only going to be situationally good though in MOC, as Resurgence isn't as abusable against elites or boss fights, but in pure fiction this is going to be pretty big. Sealer is pretty much always going to get a ton of turns in pure fiction because of how easy it is for her to reset off everything. If you pair this with an extra advanced forward like Sparkle, you are going to be able to abuse Robin's additional hit a lot more than usual. Now this Sealer-Robin combo isn't going to be something game changing, but if you do commonly use her in pure fiction, this is something to keep mind of. Now to answer the question of whether you should pull her, it really depends on what you're looking for. Overall, she is going to be an amazing Harmony unit regardless of what teams you play, so if you really like her, there shouldn't be anything stopping you. In terms of which players should really consider pulling her, if you're interested in follow-up teams, specifically dual DPS ones with Ratio and Topaz, she is going to probably be the most valuable pull for your account. If you just like playing dual DPS teams, but not specifically follow-up ones, she's going to be quite comparable to Ranmei in terms of her value, maybe better or worse depending on the situation. If you're someone just looking to pick up more Harmony units for hypercarry DPS teams, she's still going to be really good, you're just not going to be able to get everything out of her kit. I hope this video was helpful to those who are interested in Robin, but if you want some more discussion or help from the community, I have a Discord server where you can come chill and chat everything Star Rail. If you are going to be pulling for her next week, good luck and thanks for watching.